On January 6, 1482, the citizens of Paris woke to a city that felt like a dense, walled labyrinth. Over 500,000 people were packed into these narrow streets, all of them moving toward a single event. This engraving of the Palace of Justice shows the scale of the chaos. The building is swarming with unruly crowds gathered for the Festival of Fools, an annual celebration where the normal order of medieval life is completely upended. Inside, a street dancer named Esmeralda performs with her goat Jolly. When she encounters a poet named Gringoire, who has been sentenced to death by the city's underworld, she intercedes to save a man she has never met from the gallows. She voluntarily enters into a 4-year marriage of convenience. This won't be the last time Esmeralda risks herself for a stranger. Her impulse to protect those who are suffering repeatedly pulls her into the paths of men who have run out of options. Away from the noise of the festival, the local women of Paris tell a much darker story, one that began 15 years before the events of that morning. They speak of a beautiful infant girl named Agnes who was stolen from her cradle. In her place, the kidnappers left a severely deformed monster child that no one wanted. The two children lived very different lives. The deformed boy was taken in by the church to become the cathedral's bell ringer, Quasimodo. Meanwhile, the grieving mother retreated into a windowless stone cell, refusing to leave and clutching the only thing she had left, her baby's tiny embroidered shoe. That bell ringer is now the target of the city's cruelty. In the plaza, Quasimodo is bound to a central pillar, whipped and humiliated while the public cheers at his pain. Esmeralda is the only person who steps out of the hostile crowd. She holds a flask of water to Quasimodo's parched lips, and for the very first time in his entire adult life, the deformed man sheds a single tear. Quasimodo is used to stones, not mercy. By showing him kindness on the pillory, Esmeralda gains the only protector in Paris capable of physically standing against a mob. While life plays out in the squares, the cathedral is always looming over the city. It is more than a church. It is a giant stone observer. High in those towers, Archdeacon Claude Frollo watches Esmeralda dance. He is a man of the cloth, but he is consumed by a secret obsessive passion for her that has completely eroded his self-control. Esmeralda's attention is elsewhere. She has fallen for a handsome captain of the guard named Phoebus, and the two have begun a public flirtation in the streets below. Frollo follows them into the shadows. He pays an old woman to hide him in a dark closet inside a tavern, where he spies on Phoebus and Esmeralda as they meet in private. Frollo's position in the church gives him authority, but his jealousy gives him a motive for murder. If he cannot have Esmeralda, he will ensure no other man survives the attempt. Frollo bursts from the closet and stabs Captain Phoebus. Before anyone can react, the priest leaps out a window and disappears into the night. The city watch finds Esmeralda alone with the wounded officer. She is immediately arrested and charged with murder and the use of witchcraft. Esmeralda is taken to the gallows to hang. She looks up and sees Captain Phoebus watching from a nearby balcony. He is alive, but he stays silent, choosing his reputation over the life of the woman who is about to die for his stabbing. Just as the executioner moves, Quasimodo drops from the cathedral's facade. Swinging down on a rope, he pulls Esmeralda away from the noose. He carries her through the doors of the cathedral and holds her high above the crowd, invoking the ancient law of sanctuary. By reaching the church, Esmeralda has escaped the king's hangman. She is now behind a stone barrier that neither the city guard nor the courts are permitted to cross. Quasimodo gives Esmeralda his own bed and food. He knows his appearance terrifies her, so he stays in the shadows, even attempting to find Captain Phoebus to bring him to her side. But the archdeacon has unrestricted access to the building. Frollo ignores the very laws of sanctuary he has sworn to protect, slipping into Esmeralda's cell to assault her. Quasimodo hears the struggle and intervenes, physically turning against his master to keep Esmeralda safe. At the same time, a massive riot of vagabonds attacks the front of the cathedral. They are trying to extract Esmeralda by force, battering the iron-reinforced doors while Quasimodo defends the roof. The safety of the cathedral has failed. Esmeralda is forced out of the stone fortress and into a final confrontation where the church can no longer protect her. Frollo uses the riot to trick Esmeralda into leaving the building. Once they are outside, he gives her a choice: submit to him or go to the gallows. She calls him a murderer and rejects him. Frollo abandons her, leaving her with the recluse, the woman who has spent 15 years in a cell, publicly cursing every gypsy who passes by. The recluse screams for the guards to take her, clutching the tiny embroidered shoe she has kept since her daughter was stolen. But as she looks at her prisoner, Esmeralda pulls an identical matching shoe from an amulet around her neck. In a single moment, the woman realizes the girl she is trying to hang is the daughter she lost 15 years ago. This is the tragic irony of the story. Esmeralda finally finds her mother and her true identity at the exact moment her executioners arrive to take her away. The reunion is interrupted by the sound of hoofbeats and armor. The guards arrive at the cell, led there by instructions from Captain Phoebus. Desperately, the mother begs the soldiers to spare the daughter she has only just recovered. But the law has already been set in motion. In a city built on rigid justice and hidden jealousies, a mother's love is not enough to stop the gallows.